Hey everyone, welcome to the DevNation show. As you can see, I'm doing that from my pool. Well, I hope you believe me. I know people have been asking for this for a long time. I know James has been asking this for a long time. He's on the chat, I know. So by the way, let me know in the chat if it's working well. Last week we had a terrible experience on the Mac machine that streams. I have the feeling it's not super good now as well. Very good, okay. People, I will explain why I'm fit like this. I was really planning to do a show from my pool, but believe me, today it's raining like crazy. There's thunderstruck, etc. So I could have tried to do it in the pool, but that would have been really dangerous. And yeah, I don't want something happen to me. Well, it would have been done the buzz on internet if something happened to me, but let's avoid that. Okay? So I'm not in my pool. Let me remove this. Let me put my glasses because I don't see anything otherwise. Okay? There we go. The hat. And we are almost go. Okay, so welcome to show number 4. Last week we didn't have a show because it was DevNation Day. I will come back on this later. And each week I try to have a team around the show. So the first show was around Zoom fatigue, and then it was back to school. Last time was about learning, and this time I wanted. So let me switch here a bit my scenes. That is not what I wanted to show you. I want to talk about this tweet. Okay, so this tweet was from last week. Okay, and someone called Hayes Stanford said, "Hey, what's stopping you from coding like this?" And he put a picture from his GitHub account showing the 100 last days of his work. And yeah, if you look at the statistics, he has been working like a crazy, too much work. And the funny thing was all the subtweets that came after this tweet. People made fun of him. And by the way, we don't know if he was serious or if he was trolling. But anyway, I really liked the tweet from Cassidy. You all know Cassidy probably. If you don't know her, follow her. She's really funny. She said, "What's stopping you from coding like this?" Okay. And just type "what's stopping you from coding like this" on Twitter, and you will find a lot of hilarious stuff. If you don't follow me on Twitter, and you should follow me on Twitter, I also made a video around this. Let me find it back. And it's crazy because I never had that many views on a video. Where it is? There it is. Let me see. Okay. So that was my video. Okay. And here I say, "Hey, please come join the show." And look, I have 71,000 views. And I was saying, "Hey, what's stopping you from coding like this?" And that's why I wanted to make the joke and do my show from the pool. Maybe next week, but it's still a bit summer here, but I will see. Okay. Anyway, just a little bit more serious. What's stopping you from coding like this? You should really not try to follow him. Work as hard as you can, but be aware. Burnout is never far away. Believe me, I did a burnout 10 years ago. You can ping me offline. I can talk about it openly. But stay healthy, especially during these moments with the pandemic. I know I talked with, in the previous interview with Ray and with Brian and with Sebastian. They also told me that we have the feeling that we are working more during this lockdown period. So just be careful, stay healthy. It's time, let me see the time, yeah. It's time for the interview in a few seconds. And as usual, I will do a jingle and we still don't have the budget to have the band playing. So last time I played the guitar, I played that weird instrument you remember last time. So this time I will play another instrument, not a really weird instrument, an instrument I've been playing for a long time. But it's been now almost 15 years that I didn't play it. But yeah, it's the clarinet. I love the clarinet, and I will do a jingle. I will just check on the chat that everything goes well. Okay. So, little jingle, and then we will have the jingle for the interview, and then we will have the interview. Okay? So, almost there. Made a mistake. It's the Pink Panther, if you recognize it. I made a mistake. It was a song that I played really well when I was 8 years old. I need to train, but that was the jingle. And let me go now for the... Okay, hey Matt, are you around?
Hey there, yes, how's it going?
I'm going great. Let me just put the camera side by side. Let me see. Yes, there we go. Awesome. So, first of all, Matt, thank you so much. It's really early for you. I realized that, well, this weekend I say, I think he's on the West Coast. So it's 7 a.m. for you?
Yep. It's fine. I'm actually usually up at this time, and I've got my coffee, so we're all good.
All good. Okay, so let me just. I have a nice banner here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, first, for people who don't know you, can you introduce yourself? Maybe in 30 seconds or in 1 minute. Just tell me who you are.
Sure, of course. My name is Matt Klein. I'm a software engineer at the car company Lyft, where I've worked for about 5.5 years now. I specialize in low-level systems, networking, operating systems, distributed systems, those types of things. In the last 4 or 5 years, I'm mostly known for Envoy, the software proxy. So I lead that project, and I spend about half of my time doing industry and open source work and about half of my time working at Lyft.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So you mentioned it, Envoy. So first of all, do we say Envoy proxy or Envoy sidecar or Envoy load balancer? Is there an official term?
I think many people call it different things. I think Envoy proxy is probably the most common, but you can call it whatever you want.
Okay. So I knew Envoy by when I started to play with Istio. I think 3 years ago, something like that. That's how I knew about Envoy, and I even play with Envoy. I did my first and last probably pull request in C++ for a filter, a JOT filter, I remember in that time. But yeah, first of all, how did you came with this idea of making Envoy? Was it a need for Lyft, or can you tell us how the project was born?
Yeah, it's a long story. So prior to Lyft, I worked at Twitter, and at Twitter I worked on front-end load balancing systems. I also was involved, obviously, in a bunch of the service-to-service stuff there. So I had, I was aware of everything that was being done with libraries like Finagle, so I just observed, the entire ecosystem. And then prior to Twitter, I was at Amazon, and there I was working on networking. So, for the last, I'd say 6 or 7 years before I worked at Lyft, I had pretty good awareness of what was in that space. When I came to Lyft, Lyft was facing many of the same problems that companies face when they migrate to a microservice architecture. They had poor observability into service calls. They were having load-based outages, and so we obviously wanted to apply a bunch of these different techniques like timeouts and circuit breakers and retries. So having experience from back at Twitter and prior to that, I had an idea that, Lyft was a polyglot architecture. It wasn't like it was all in Java or something like that. It had Python and PHP. We were talking about Go and Node, so it didn't really make sense to create a library in each of these languages to solve these problems. And having some prior experience with existing proxies like Nginx and AJ Proxy, I felt that we could do something a bit different. So Lyft gave me the amazing opportunity to start Envoy. And actually, the first use case for Envoy at Lyft was not as a service-to-service or service mesh proxy. It was as an API gateway proxy. So we used it to replace Amazon's load balancers to get better observability into our system coming in from the edge. Then quickly from there, we ran it on the PHP monolith, forming our first basic service mesh between the edge and the PHP monolith. And then we were very impressed with all of the observability and features that we got running it just on those 2 hops. Then we gradually started to roll it out as a sidecar on all of the existing services at the time. And at that time, Lyft only had about, probably 20 or 30 different services. Had a pretty marked improvement in the overall system reliability. Then the rest is history. We used it to not only proxy service calls, but to proxy databases like MongoDB and DynamoDB. Redis, we've used it for all types of things at Lyft. Then Envoy was obviously open source towards the end of 2016. And, when we originally open source Envoy, I had a dream that maybe one other company would end up using it, and that would be an amazing open source success. And I would be so thrilled if like one company, obviously, what has happened in the last 4 years has been, a lifetime career opportunity. It's been a truly incredible thing. And never in my wildest imagination would I have thought that we would be where we are now.
Yeah. I will come back on this community aspect because the same happened with me for another project. Not so, didn't went as crazy as Envoy, I think, but yeah, it's interesting to discuss that. Just to come back about Istio and Envoy, did Istio make Envoy popular, or maybe I'm just in my bubble of Istio and
well,
maybe
I think that when Istio came out, so I'm trying to think now. Envoy was open sourced in late 2016, and I think Istio was open sourced in early 2017. And Istio certainly helped at that early stage. I mean, there was certainly a lot of publicity that Istio brought to Envoy. Certainly, it certainly made Envoy more, in the open source press and things like that. I think since then, what we've seen is that Envoy has so many different users, from companies to products. There's like 20 different service meshes based on Envoy at this point. That all the different cloud providers are using it. It's just absolutely mind blowing. So. Well, I think at this point, we consider Istio just one large consumer of Envoy. I think at the time, though, for sure, I think the folks at Google have done a massive amount of work on Envoy, and they're certainly a big part of it.
Okay. Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that there are more than 20 different service meshes now around. In my first show, so last month, I started my show with that because from Microsoft, the Open Service Mesh was just announced. And Kensley Hightower, he made a really funny tweet about the Hightower Service Mesh service. He was trolling a bit. It was really funny. But the next day, he made another tweet saying, okay, maybe for you the service mesh concepts are a bit blurry. My advice would be by starting to learn about Envoy. Try to understand how Envoy works, play with it, even outside the cluster, just on your machine. And that really resonates with me because that was my situation. When I had to play with Istio, it was way too complicated for me. I didn't even knew Kubernetes. So I started to play with Envoy on my machine, looking at the filters, and I was working on a JOT filter for a token verification. And slowly I managed to understand a bit more the concepts around service mesh. Do you agree with what Kinsley said about this approach?
I do agree. I would say also that I think that service mesh is so much FUD around service mesh. There's so much hype. It's one of the biggest buzz phrases of the last couple of years. And I'm a very pragmatic engineer, and in general, I tell people, forget tech Twitter, right? Like, forget the conferences. I mean, they're useful inputs, but I always encourage people to focus on the problems that they're actually having, right? And the honest reality is that Envoy is a Swiss Army knife. It's a very powerful but very complicated piece of software, and it's not the right piece of software for everyone to use. And, depending on people's use case, maybe they should be using a networking library, or maybe they should be using Nginx or HA proxy or Linkerd or something. It doesn't, there's lots of different solutions out there. So I always encourage people to focus on your customer and focus on the problems that they're actually having, and then evaluate the different options that are out there, and then decide on whether that's the right solution for you. I think what we see with Envoy is we see it being at this point pervasively deployed in very large scale infrastructures, particularly at the edge and also in large service mesh situations. And but I think in general, those organizations and companies have teams with expertise on them that generally understand, a lot of the lower level concepts that Envoy implements, right? So, I would just say, I think it's fine to take Kelsey's approach and to learn from the ground up. I also think it's fine to take a pre-can project, whether that be something simpler like Open Service Mesh or Kuma, or something a bit more complicated like Istio. And do that. I think it really depends on the organization and what the organization is after. I do agree that at the end of the day, in any serious production use case, it's hard to really hide what Envoy is doing. Meaning, at the end of the day, someone is going to have to debug what is going on there, and that's where I think it gets more complicated, because can offer all of these beautiful abstractions and make things easier for people when they're operating their systems. Still, inevitably, something's going to break. That's just the world that we live in, and someone's going to have to debug it, right? And then when that person has to debug it, without an understanding of the entire stack, like the way that we've debugged things, for the last 30 or 40 years, you got to, start with Linux and sometimes the hardware and move up the stack. You have to know the different pieces, otherwise it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I agree. And it's inside the organization, it's not always easy to find the right person or the right team that will need to check this, because service mesh is between crossing developers, ops, and
This is a topic that, to be honest, I think about on an almost daily basis right now, because it is very complicated, because we live in a world of service providers, we have cloud providers, we have infrastructure vendors, and then we have end user companies like Lyft, which are running an internet service. And it is difficult to fill the different job roles that actually need doing. And by that, I mean, need SRE type people or operations minded people to run your system, and that is different than pure software engineering of like implementing the network proxy. So I would just say that this is a struggle that we have in the industry, is balancing software engineering and operations and trying to figure out what the right job roles are, and it's something that most companies do not end up doing very well.
Yes, it's slowly starting to happen, I think. But yeah, there's a lot to do yet. I have a question here from the audience. So because we're live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, I think.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah.
We get a question from Mike here. Mike, you say, in creating Envoy for observability, how much do you have to take into account overall performance throughput trade-off in order to gain the observability aspect? Wow, that was a long question. Did you get it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a very common question. I think one of the biggest questions that we get about Envoy is, what is the overhead? And the project's perspective on describing performance and overhead is that we actually don't. And the reason that we don't is that, like I was saying before, Envoy is a Swiss Army knife. It's extensible. It has all kinds of different features, and very hard to know what the performance overhead is going to be without profiling it with the features that is going to be used in that production deployment. That's not to say that Envoy is slow. I mean, a pretty substantial amount of effort has gone into making it not slow. And we've seen pretty impressive overhead numbers. Less than 1 millisecond per hop. But it's really going to be up to the production deployment to decide, whether the overhead is worth it for the observability gains. Give you a concrete example. At Lyft, we use Envoy between all services and Redis. And, that is one of the lowest latency use cases that there is, right? Envoy almost certainly multiplies, the latency of Redis ops by 3 times, right? So that's a 300-400% overhead. Yet, we've determined that there's so much functionality added with the consistent hashing and the routing and the observability and all of these things that overhead is actually worth it. So the reason that I bring up that use case is that I think in a lot of cases, I think many organizations vastly prematurely optimize, meaning they try to look for micro optimizations when they don't have many engineers, and engineering resources are probably your most scarce resource. And I think most organizations should probably be optimizing for engineering resources and not actual computer resources. Again, I'm making a very black and white statement. There's obviously shades of gray here. Then as an organization scales, yes, of course, you have to start worrying more about, compute resources. But surprisingly few organizations actually really have to care about that. So my general statement to people is everyone should benchmark for themselves. But I also think that as an industry, we do a really poor job of what I call computing TCI or TCO, total cost of ownership. And that includes engineering resources, compute resources development. So I would not underestimate the gains that you can get from deploying some of these systems that can aid in operating the system, because the cost of outages can be so high, the cost of operations can be so high, and the cost of engineers can be so high. So I always recommend that people do their own benchmarking and make their own decisions.
Okay. Yeah, great answer. Yeah. And, on my side, I do some Istio courses, and I always get the question about how much overhead does Istio has? And yeah, you cannot really answer this question because people want a number. They want how many milliseconds, how many percent does it add of overhead? Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's a common question. We have another question from Burr. Has Lyft moved to Kubernetes, running Envoy as a sidecar container in a pod? If not moving to Kubernetes, why not? So basically, did you move to Kubernetes at Lyft?
We are like most other companies, still moving to Kubernetes. We are mostly moved to Kubernetes. At this point, I think probably 80% of our stateless workloads are on Kube at this point. Still moving some of the stateful workloads. And yes, we do run Envoy in the pod as a sidecar. And what we did at Lyft, since we had a very large legacy deployment, based on virtual machines and a proprietary provisioning stack, we built our service mesh so that it will transparently route and the legacy stack. Basically, services don't really know whether they're running in Kube or they're running on the legacy stack. They just route transparently between.
Really cool. Yeah. Okay. Let me see the time. Yeah. We're almost done, but I want to speak a bit about the community aspect. And you said, well, Envoy is open source,
sure.
And it's a Swift Army knife. That means that probably the big community, they all want their own features to be implemented in Envoy. I don't know if you have this issue.
Yep.
I have this issue with the Keycloak, the server identity project. People have their use case and they are sure that this pull request must be merged. Are you facing the same issue? How do you keep that?
Yeah. The project has grown so much, and it continues to grow. I mean, I think on one day it can't grow anymore, and then it just growing. So, it's like the number of pull requests, the number of contributors, the number of people asking for features keeps growing. What we've done with Envoy, and this is partly based on my overall career experience, where I've just worked on these type of systems for quite some time, is we've really focused on extensibility. My general standpoint, and this has been, I think, a very successful strategy, that I try to almost never say no. Right? It's like we either say yes, let's obviously do the code review and do the API review, and we'll merge that feature, or we say, yes, but this would be better implemented as an extension. We're not going to put it in the main open source. Either the extension point already exists, go use it, or we actually need you to implement an extension point here so that you can add this feature that no one else wants, but now you can easily add it and there won't be any more merge conflicts and you just maintain your extension. That has worked out very well. The downside of that, and you'll see complaining about this off and on, and this comes back to what we were talking about before, about Envoy is a very complicated and powerful piece of software, that the extensibility makes the configuration fairly confusing for newcomers. Because the configuration model has to take into account extensibility. It has to know what type to load, and it has to pass in opaque configuration, all of these kinds of things. So, like everything else in computing, there's no silver bullet here, right? It's like it is physically impossible to make every user base happy. So with Envoy, what we've done is I think we've just admitted to ourselves that we are a foundational piece of software, much like Kubernetes or Linux or something along those lines. And lots of people, whether they're companies or various other things, are going to, build things on top. So we haven't necessarily focused on simplicity, but we've obviously focused on, just trying to enable different use cases.
Yeah. Okay. Really cool. I'm just looking at the chat because we have a lot of questions for it. Usually we don't have that many questions, but
sure, shoot.
Burry said again, what is used to distribute Envoy configs out to all the sidecars running on hundreds, thousands of pods? Push or pull?
Sorry, is that at Lyft or in general?
I think he mentioned at Lyft, probably.
So we maintain a private control plane at Lyft. We call it Envoy Manager, and it implements a bunch of the XDS APIs. And that's what we use to push our configurations out.
Okay. Cool. And then one last question, and then we are already done. Okay, I'm using Envoy and Nginx, and I'm getting an HTTP upgrade error on some request. Do you have any idea on how this can be resolved? So I'm not sure you will be able to answer this, but maybe you can take
that's debugging during the interview. It's hard to say is that upgrade and connect and all of these things are kind of a big mess across all of these proxies, just requiring lots of different configurations and knowledge. And particularly when things cross proxies, it can get very complicated. My advice would be to open a GitHub issue, and I think someone can probably help you.
I was about to say, yeah, a GitHub issue or mailing. You have a mailing list as well, or now you're?
We've got Slack, we have mailing lists, we have GitHub, we have it all. Yeah, just
Okay. Hey, it was really interesting. Thank you so much. Went really fast. Again, thank you so much, Matt, for coming this early, speaking about all the great things.
Of course, thank you for having me. It was great.
Yeah, and thank you again. And I will share with people your Twitter handle. I forgot to do that. Usually I have show notes, but I forgot that. But I will share that with the audience. Again, thank you so much. And hopefully in a few, maybe not months because we cannot travel, but maybe we'll cross our roads in a conference or something like that. Maybe in 2 years.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Yep.
Okay, so this was the interview. Really awesome interview. Thank you so much. I just have to. Someone is spamming me here from the team. I just check. Let me see. Let me close this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me see. Well, we are not so bad in time. I really enjoyed this interview. If you enjoyed it, please share it on the chat. It was great. Now we are going to. I'm just removing the sound everywhere, so because I'm getting crazy. Now is the news section, and it will be more a bit live coding because, just saying news one after the other is a bit boring. So, okay, so news section, small jingle, and then we go to the. Okay, and I'm back already. Let me go just to a different view here. There we go. Oh, there we still see me going out of the pool. But what I wanted to mention was, last week there was no show because it was DevNation Day. And what was DevNation Day? DevNation Day was a whole day of tech talks. Well, in the morning we had Kubernetes related keynotes, and in the afternoon we had breakout sessions on 3 tracks: Java, JavaScript, and Python. It was really great. To be honest, I watch a lot the Java track, and the last talk of the Java track was from with Nikolai Parlog on Java 15. And it was an awesome talk, and I have good news. Next week, my guest will be Nikolai Parlog. Okay? If you missed DevNation Day, it's not a problem, because all the talks are available on the Red Hat Developer YouTube channel, okay? And you have a playlist for Kubernetes, as you can see, a playlist for JavaScript, and maybe, Burr, if you can just share the link to the YouTube channel, but it's really easy. It's dn.dev/YouTube, so dn for DevNation.dev/YouTube, and you come on this channel, okay? To continue on this, we had some opening demos, and one opening demo was around multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, and that makes the news because, let me go here, that was really nice. Let me close this. Last week there was a study from Forrester, a market study, and they came to the conclusion that Red Hat OpenShift was named as the most widely deployed multi-cloud container platform. That sounds really cool, a lot of buzzwords, but what does that mean exactly? What is multi-cloud? And so I decided to do a small demo for people who did follow our master courses about Kubernetes you already know what I will show you because that is our opening demo. But for the rest of the people, let me do this demo with you again. Let me be sure I'm on the right screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you, Burr, for the link to YouTube. Okay, so what I have here, I have 3 clusters. I have 1 cluster, and I just realized you cannot see the URL. But believe me, this cluster is running on Azure, Microsoft Azure. So we have some VMs there, and on top of that, we put a Kubernetes distribution, the OpenShift distribution. So OpenShift is Kubernetes, okay? And we deployed Kubernetes there. We have an Amazon AWS machine. So we spin up some EC2 instances, and again, on top of that, we installed a Kubernetes. And we have a third one running on Google Cloud platform. Again, we installed there a Kubernetes. Again, that is a dev talk show. It's not a marketing or sales show, but just you can see it. I deployed OpenShift there because it's great. And one of the advantages that you have is that you have the same web console interface, okay? And what I did on these clusters, I deployed the same backend application. So if I go here to my project, something called Hybrid Cloud deployment, I got something here called Hybrid Cloud Backend, okay? And if I go here to my Amazon machine, I should have the same Hybrid Cloud deployment backend. Okay, and the last one, I have to go there, sorry, to project, Hybrid Cloud, deployment, Hybrid Cloud backend. So I have exactly the same backend. It was the same command, the same resource that I applied on these different clusters. And I have one front end. What does the backend do? It just pick up some message, do some processing on it, and sends it back to the client, okay? And we have federated these 3 clusters together. Let me share a link with you so you can play with it. There we go. Let me share. Oh, I don't have the chat open. Not a problem. Give me 1 second and I will go on the chat on this computer. Let me see. 1 moment. I haven't prepared that well. I'm sorry. So let me just go to the chat. Should have shared that before. There we go. Live. Let me go in live control room. And now I'm in the chat. Almost in the chat. And I can share that with you. There we go. Okay. There we go. I shared a link with you. Yeah, exactly, DJ Mandy. Just to prove it's a live show. So I'm still human. I had a lot of things prepared, and that last thing I missed it. Opening the chat on my streaming device. But the link is there, so you can go there, and you should be able to send messages now. Okay, so let's try it. Hello. There we go. Oh, look, a lot of messages. There's DJ Maddie. And we can see, oh, that's funny. It's already spreading to different clouds. Well, let's now imagine that I go to my Azure cloud. Okay, that's where my front end is running. And imagine there's an issue with the data center and the bare metal machine where my backend is running here takes fire and it didn't work anymore. So I just turn it off and I simulate it by scaling that to 0. Okay, let's go now here and let's try another message. Hello. And you should see now that all the messages, I'm not sure, maybe I'm in front of this. Oh yeah, I'm in front of this. Look here, but you can see it as well. Now all the messages are going to Amazon, okay? Because Azure is down. And to do that, we just use a small tool called Scupper, scupper.io, and you can find out. and transparently it fills over to the next cloud, okay? So now we are going to Amazon, but you know what? Let me also kill Amazon. So I go here to my Amazon cloud, there we are, and let me kill Amazon now. And we kill Amazon, and now I go back here, and we should only go now to GCP. Okay, so if I type GCP here, let me see. No, it's still going to Amazon. Did I kill the wrong one? Hybrid cloud? Oh, what did I kill? I killed something else. Okay, there we go. I don't know exactly what I killed, but now it's killed. And now we should go on GCP. There we go. Let me see, send request. Oh no, you know what I did? I killed GCP. I killed GCP thinking I was killing Amazon. So I put GCP back, and now, as you can see, all the requests should go to... Now I'm confused. Let me see GCP. Oh no. Sorry. Again, Digimedi, that's just to prove you it's live. I killed GCP, but I didn't kill Amazon. So let me bring back to life GCP, and let me kill Amazon. Okay? And now we should only have messages to GCP. Let me see. This is working. Yeah, GCP, okay? So all the messages are going to GCP. So that is one way of seeing what multi-cloud can bring. And again, how Kubernetes is becoming the backbone of any cloud native infrastructure. Okay? This was just a small demo. I need to drink some water. And then we do a second small demo. Let me check you have 4 computers and 6 monitors in front of you. Well, James, I have 4 monitors, 2 different computers. We are streaming by connecting to another machine in the cloud, which adds extra fun. I have OBS running on this machine. We have OBS running on this other machine. So a lot of fun stuff, a lot of moving parts. I have a stream deck here. But yeah, after a while you managed to get it working. Okay, and the next news is in fact just a cool demo because I love that. It's a follow-up. You remember? Okay, let me go. You remember 3 weeks ago I showed you a project called. I showed you a project called Jbang, where you can just run your Java as scripts anywhere. And what I like about the word is anywhere, because in the latest update you can really run your script from anywhere. Okay, and I'm going to try to do this live. Let me bring back the terminal here. The terminal. Do you see my terminal? Yes, you see my terminal. Okay. Oh, and I'm already spoiling because you see stuff here. Pretend you didn't see anything. So last time I showed you that you can, for instance, run Java 15 stuff. So if I want to do some records testing, I can do that. Jbang, Java, I do Java 15, and I say I want to run this tweet.gsf, and that should show me how records work. Okay. Awesome, that is great, but let's do something else a bit more crazy now. Let me go, let me see. Let me copy paste this. And let me go here to Twitter. Oh, I already prepared that. Okay, but here you see, do you see it on my screen? Maybe not. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, I will make a tweet. Let's change that. Let's call it the show, and the show has just a name. Okay, and it's called a new show here. Oh, a new show. So here I'm live coding in Twitter by doing a tweet. Do you realize that? DevNation show. I have to be sure I have enough characters. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that is my tweet, and I print it. So let me tweet that. I tweet this, and let me go to my profile, and I go to this tweet here. And now what I can do, let me go here back to my terminal. And what I can probably do is Jbang Java 15, and here I put the link to my tweet. And if the demo gods are with me, that should just work. Let me see, it takes some time. Hey, you see, show DevNation show. So, that's so fun. You realize what I just did. I basically made a tweet with Java 15 code inside it, and then I run it from my console. It's just working. Okay, Sun is asking, is Twitter your new IDE? Yeah, totally. Twitter is my new IDE. And just before we start with the game, but we are not so bad in timing. You know what you also can do? Let me show you something else. Let me see. I got this one. This is a small script that contains a complete Quarkus application, okay? That is a Quarkus application. And let me take this, and again, let me make a tweet. So let's go here, and let me make a tweet. And just so that you believe me, let's say this is live, okay? This is live, and let me tweet that. Let's mention Max, because he will be happy. There you go, Max. Okay, and I take this tweet here, and now I do the same thing. So let me do it clear, and I do Jbang, and I point to this tweet, and that should build a jar. Okay, hey, I see Quarkus Luncheon Jbang integration. Quarkus augmentation. And look what I have here. I have a running Quarkus app. And if you don't believe me, let me see, what was the endpoint DN? Okay, so if I go here, localhost 8080/DN, there we go. This is live. I don't know if you see it here. This is live. It is live. So, cool stuff, no? Again, go to Jbang. If you don't know Quarkus, Quarkus is the new Java stack to create your cloud native application. And next week we have two parts master course about Quarkus. You can register for free. Alex will be doing part 1 on Monday, and I will be doing part 2 on Wednesday. Okay. I'm happy all the demos worked. I hope you enjoy it. I impressed myself with that because it's so cool. Anyway, we have 12 minutes left, so we're going to play the game, and again we will play the game we played the first time, which was the trivia game. This time with other questions, of course, otherwise it will be way too easy. And there are only 6 or 7 questions this time, not 10 questions, because 10 questions was a bit long, okay? But again, a great mix between technical questions and, geeky questions, okay? I hope everything is working. Let me put the jingle of the game, and we go to the game. Okay, I'm back. Let me remove the terminal here. Let me go here to the console. So again, in case people forgot about it, or they were not here in the first show, all the games that we show you are developed in our team. We had a lot of fun doing this. and we deploy that on Kubernetes, of course, and we use the latest technologies. So like for the Trila game, it's built with Quarkus, and we use cool stuff like service sent events, reactive streams. It's secured with Keycloak, and so we are trying to do the stuff ourselves. There will be new games in a few weeks. They are in the pipeline. We are working hard on that. And again, so that is the admin interface. And let me see. I need to set the game here. I hope everything is cool. And I know there's an issue. I don't know how much the delay is here. I think it's really small, the delay. I think it's only 3 seconds. I hope so, because otherwise it's a bit weird, because you hear me talking about the question before you see the question, okay? Let me set that, let me init the game, okay? And let me share the link with you to play the game, okay? And there we go, and I put it in the chat there. Maybe if someone can put it on Twitch as well, Burr. I don't know if there are people on Twitch, on Facebook. I don't think it's really crowded there, but 3 seconds delay. Yeah, I tried the ultra low latency stuff. So 3 seconds, it's great. Edson had the same yesterday. It was even short. It was 2 seconds, something like that. Okay, let me see if people are joining the game. Yeah, 8 players, 9 players. Okay. Come on, don't be shy, don't be shy. 10 players, okay. Let me join. Oops, sorry. Let me join the game as well. Oh, crap! You saw one. You saw some already a response. Okay. Let me open it here. So I'm Alan 2010. Okay. So is everyone ready? Let's go for the game. So the first questions. How many languages does 3CPO speak? C3PO, as we say it in French. Okay? Is it 6,000, 6 billion, 6 million, 60,000? Okay, so please answer the questions. Okay, there we go. Let me see what happened. Let me see. Yeah, things going well. So we have variety of answers. And the correct answer is 6 million. Okay? 6 million. It was answer C. Okay? And I heard rumors that C3PO even understand closure, but I'm not sure about this one. Okay, next question. Are you ready? There we go. Next question. In which language, oh, I've made a typo there, is Envoy written? Okay, in which language is Envoy written? Is it in C++, in Java, in Rust, or in C? Okay? So, I'm curious, do people know in which language it's written? Again, let me see. So, most of the people said most of people say what? Let me see. Most of the people were wrong, because it's written in C++. It's not written in Rust. Now you give me the doubt. I know there were plans to write it in Rust, rewrite it in Rust, but I think it's still in C++. Okay, let's take a look at the score. Bjorn and James are leading with 17 points. Okay, hey, next question. How is called the hero of the game Monkey Island? Best game ever. Well, one of the best game ever. Is that Guybrush Threepwood, LeChuck, Gordon Freeman, or Zach McCracken? Okay? Old school game, yeah, DJ Maddie. And, okay, so, let me see the answers. And most of the people knew it. Answer A, Guy Threepwood. Just for the joke, the other names exist. So, LeChuck is the bad guy in Monkey Island. It's a pirate. Gordon Freeman is the hero of Half-Life. And Zach McCracken is the hero of another Lucasfilm adventure game that was just before Monkey Island and is one of my preferred game. Okay? Let me see. Oh, Margaret took the lead. Margaret took the lead. I wonder who Margaret is. Okay, next questions. Next question. What happens if a liveness probe fails on a pod? Oh, now we're back to technical question, Kubernetes question. The kubelet deletes the pod. It's removed from the service load balancer. The kubelet creates a new pod. The kubelet restarts the pod. And Alex, you should know the answer because you wrote this question. Okay, time is up. And let me see. Well, again, nice variety of answers. But the correct answer was answer D. The kubelet restarts the pod. And if you remember in the first edition of the trivia game, we had what happened if a readiness probe fails on the pod. And if a readiness probe fails, then it's just removed from the service. And it does not restart it. Okay? We are almost done. And Ida is taking the lead now, followed by Margaret and Brenda. Well, great. Okay. You have one or two more questions. Okay, so be ready. Next question. What is the day John's mom says Judgment Day is on? So here we are on a Terminator 2 question. On which day is Judgment Day? Is that on August 28th, 29th, October 15th, 2015, or May 16th? I wonder if people knew about that. Oh, well, looks like most of the people had the wrong answer because the good answer is on August 29. Okay, May 16. No, that I made that up. This one is, I think, something. October 15 is somewhere in Back to the Future. Okay, so most people didn't know the answer. Margaret has taken the lead now, still followed by Ida. Okay, and I think we have one last question. Okay, so be ready. There we go. Which one is true? Envoy is an L1 proxy. Envoy do not support a gRPC. Envoy is an L7 proxy. Envoy can be built with Ent. I wonder if you will find a good answer. Okay, there we go. And yeah, most of the people found the right answer. Indeed, Envoy is an L7 level cache proxy. Okay, I think we are done. Or is there a last question? Oh, there's a last question. Yeah, the most funny one. Which one of the two brothers is the oldest? Mario or Luigi? So is it Mario, Luigi? They are twins. In fact, they are not really brothers. So who do you think is the oldest? I have to Google that, to be honest. And so most people said it's Luigi. But no, it's Mario. Luigi is taller, but younger than his brother. Okay? Yeah, you have to know this kind of thing. It's really important for your nerdy culture. Okay? And now we are really done. Yes. And we have the leading board. So Ida 26801. So who is that? Don't tell me it's Sun again, because Sun he won last week during DevNation Day. Oh, Alex won. We should do a rule. Team members are not allowed to play. No, I'm joking. But congratulations. And Margaret also made a really nice score. Okay? Oh, it's almost time. I have to give the channel back for the next stream. Next week, remember Nikolai Parlog, another game, another fun live coding. I hope you enjoy it. And see you next week. Have a really nice day. Bye-bye, everyone.